of Beyond the Black Rims. I'm Mars Girl.
I'm Josh Knight the First.
This is Season 7, Episode 14.
Or Episode 156 if you're counting.
Good to see everybody here again today, and despite little herks and quips with X-Split right now, we're here! Yay! And it functions, so we're live, and I'm always thankful for that.
Yes.
And thankful for everyone who contributes over at patreon.com/MarsGirl who make this show and all kinds of other things I do possible, so thank you for that. We're still here and we're still going somehow. Yes. I don't really know why, but I'm thankful for it. Thank you. Let's keep going. What's going on, Josh?
You don't know why you're thankful?
No, I don't know why we're still going.
But you're thankful.
But we're thankful.
Okay. Yeah.
Wow, you completely and utterly misheard me.
Maybe.
Yes, maybe. So what's going on, Josh?
I'm sitting here.
Oh, no, come on.
See, this is one of those weeks where we didn't quite discuss what's going on here with us.
Josh, you brought over a gun.
I did bring over a gun.
Why
I could talk about the gun.
Yeah,
I'm gonna talk about the gun.
gun.
Okay, so normally, for those of you watching the show, you know we're kind of, what is the proper term for somebody who's a Nerf enthusiast? Should I just say Nerf enthusiast?
Yes.
Okay, we're Nerf enthusiasts. I was at my local Big Lots when I found this little guy, who's not that little. Admittedly, the grip's a little on the small end for my hands.
Which is funny for a Mega Blaster.
Yeah, I know, right? But this is the Hot Shock, retailed for $10 at Big Lots. Yeah, as you can see, it is Mega Dart capable. Comes with 2 darts. One's already loaded. One's able to be stored on the top. We've already shot each other with it. It's decent enough. Funny note, they do hurt a lot more, and I think this goes for any Nerf dart. They hurt more when you're shot in the nipple.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
Just FYI, if you guys weren't aware of the pain to nipple ratio, it goes from here to immediately up if you are hit in sensitive areas.
Yes, yeah. So, good job. Thank you for letting me shoot you in the nipple. That wasn't entirely my intention, but...
No, see, this has been the problem with the Mega Dart line. Specifically, whenever we test it out, because we have a deal between the two of us. Whenever we get a new gun, we have to shoot it at each other because we have to know what we're getting hit with. Every time I shoot you, it's just kind of, it's nothing.
No, it hurts.
But you always shoot me in a vital area.
Nipple is vital area now.
Okay, it's not vital, but just a sensitive area. When you got the Mega Bow, you hit me in the neck.
Yeah, that happened.
And then when you got the Cyclone Shock, you hit me in the balls.
Mm-hmm.
That was the thing. So
none of those were intentional, by the way.
So you say, but there's a track record, and
there is. I will admit to it, but it's not on purpose.
I'm
I
just saying you will be hearing from my non-existent insurance.
Exactly.
Yes.
On my end, I also got something Nerf related.
Yes, you did, and
which I plan to unbox. It's gonna be a stupid unboxing because I think a lot of unboxings are a little bit stupid.
Yeah.
But so I may as well make the unboxing really stupid. If you're on Twitter and you follow me on Twitter, you saw that in Walmart I found this Nerf Adrenaline body set, which you can see straight through some of it because it's green. Like right around there, it's green. It's got this green top. So that includes energizing citrus body wash, lip balm, citrus lip balm, energizing citrus body spray, and this little Nerf keychain here. Bonus keychain. It's a 4-piece set. I guess the keychain
counts as one of the pieces.
Counts as one of the pieces, even though it's a bonus thing. So that doesn't really make any sense. I don't want to do the whole analyzing unboxing of it right here.
That's for later.
But there's this kid, all right, on the box, and this kid kind of makes me uncomfortable. Once we open this up, we're gonna smell like this 5-year-old boy right here on this box. I don't know how to.
That's a real way to advertise.
I don't know how to feel.
5-year-old boy.
I don't know how to feel about that.
See, I feel like I got for $10. That's kind of my money's worth right here for this.
This was less than $5, just by a little bit. So, I don't know if I consider that to be worth half the cost of this blaster.
This is worth.
But I haven't opened it yet.
This is worth the smell of 2 small boys. That's what that is worth. If we're going to try and base this.
Boys.
This is terrible.
Are they in a trench coat?
Yes, two boys pretending to be an older man in a trench coat with a fake hat and mustache.
No, with a fake mustache and a hat.
That's what I meant. You know exactly what I meant.
How is the hat fake?
It's not a real hat. They made it out of cardboard.
Okay.
That's how that works.
Sure. So those are things that have largely been going on. I've been seeing some of you guys have been saying you've seen Doctor Strange, like we told you we saw it last week. So
right.
I'm glad you guys are enjoying it also, as we did. And I don't know if we're looking forward to anything other than Rogue One like next month, but
I think Moana comes out next weekend.
Oh, that's true.
I'm interested to see Moana.
I'll go see it.
Let's see. We've got some stuff to talk about coming up next week. As you guys know, next week is Thanksgiving, so we're not going to have a show on Thanksgiving.
More than likely, it's going to be next Wednesday. I want to make sure you guys are aware of that. We'll tweet it to kind of set it in stone a little bit later, so be ready for that. Yeah, not directly on Thanksgiving, yes.
And then we will have a streaming opportunity next weekend.
Right, and more than likely, the both of us together are going to be kind of marathoning through Broforce. I have to thank Roger of Tainted Reality earlier today.
Good looking out, Roger.
For getting me a copy of Broforce. He already had a copy of Broforce, so now we can actually play something together.
Yes.
That would be good.
Broforce.
So we'll let you guys know more
Yes.
details about that coming up soon, and hopefully that will help solidify us making the trip to MagFest as well. More details are coming, so at this point, we should probably talk about what we're actually going to talk about on the show.
I just thought of one last thing to bring up, and
Okay.
it just barely clicked in my head. So, maybe at length we've brought it up here during the actual show. I know we brought it up a little bit in the post-show. So, we've commented a bit on how Arby's has their nerd social media game on lockdown.
Right.
So you saw what they posted today, right?
I guess you shared a thing.
So they had, it's a picture of their regular sandwich there with the caption, you thought this was a regular roast beef sandwich. It's only a 2-second clip. And it's just a hand removing the top bun, and underneath, it's Dio from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Like They've crossed over. We're through the looking glass now. I don't know how many more memes and references they can do now. Like
they're just gonna keep going.
At this because
I
was holding back because historically I've not liked the taste of Arby's food since I was a little kid. But today with that one shot, I finally had to hit like on Facebook. They got me. You guys got me. You really won me over. You pushed. You didn't get me with Overwatch. You didn't get me with the Five Nights at Freddy's stuff. But no, the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. That was the meme
Which
that
is
broke
funny
my back.
because you like Overwatch more than you like JoJo's Bizarre
I know,
Adventure.
right? But it was the execution of it.
All right.
It's different when you're just cutting out a piece of memorabilia from said thing. It's like, oh, anybody can do that. But it was the execution of because they had me cold because it's the perfect setup of the meme if you all are familiar with it. The only other way they could top that is having somebody get ready to eat it and then right as they're about to take a bite, to be continued, and then you play roundabout. That's the only other way they could top that.
Yeah, but I bet they can't use that. I'm shocked they could use a drawing of Dio at all and get permission to use it. But there's no way they were going to get permission to use roundabout. That just wasn't gonna happen.
Yeah, but I'm just saying they got me.
All right.
Maybe they might even get me to try the food. Probably not.
Probably.
But at least you got me to follow your social media, so good for you, Arby's.
Yes.
A sentence I never thought I would say.
Very strange. So can we talk about what our actual news stories are going to be tonight?
Yes.
So, for starters, we've got a couple of different trailers that we want to talk about today. The first trailer we're going to talk a little bit about later is going to be in reference to Kong Skull Island, because we want to talk about its build-up to King Kong eventually facing off once again against Godzilla, because that's a thing that's going to happen again eventually. Yes. So let's talk about Kong Skull Island before we get there.
Yes, our second story of the evening, as many of you have probably tried to get a hold of, we're going to talk about the mania surrounding the NES Classic. We've, of course, been talking to you guys about its development. Now that it's out, people want it, and they want it real bad. Mm-hmm. So we're going to talk to you guys about how demand looks, where people are getting it, and where people are paying exorbitant prices for it.
Yeah, and then finally there comes our second trailer of the evening in our third story. A lot of chatter about this online. The Ghost in the Shell movie finally has a more full trailer and had an event a little earlier this week over in Tokyo. And while there are still people who are very upset about certain aspects of it, it's looking really promising in other aspects. So we're going to
Yes.
try and balance those two things against one another and
Right.
hopefully work out in our heads whether or not it's worth it.
Yes.
Yeah, but before any of that happens, we got to talk about our follow-ups, so please help me out, Josh.
Okay, follow-ups. Let's get right into it. So, it's a change-up this week. It's not full-blown Justice League. It's
Okay.
a different Justice League we're starting off with this week. We got our first look at the cover art for the next DC animated film, Justice League Dark. This will be releasing in February, early February, so you guys can put your money aside for that. This, of course, referencing all of the darker characters there in the DC universe. Constantine, Swamp Thing, Etrigan the Demon, a lot of that more mystical aspect of the DC universe going to be shown off in this movie coming out February 7th. I'm looking forward to it so far. These most recent stream of movies haven't let me down at all, so I'm looking forward to seeing this one.
Sure thing.
Okay, so we've got that. Over on the video game end of things, so Batman the Telltale series has been doing very well. I've been very invested in the story that they're telling over there. They've just released their trailer for the 4th episode, 4th out of 5, that they're releasing. This one, of all things, they're telling a really tight story, blending in a couple of villains together, Penguin, Two-Face, Catwoman. Well, now in episode 4, they're going to be introducing the Joker in a different way than has ever been done before. I mean, he looks like your traditional Joker, you know, out of, say, The Killing Joke, just a little less makeup because he's early Joker, but it's a different way of introducing him along with Bruce Wayne. It's going to be very interesting.
Is that just kind of the new thing to do now with the Joker, is make him, just reinvent him every time at this point?
Perhaps.
That's what it's starting to feel like.
It feels that way, but at the same time, I'm less iffy about this reintroduction of the Joker, since it seems more based on what the character already is, and not let's just throw the baby out with the bathwater and call it Gotham.
Okay, I understand that.
Yeah, direct
criticism.
shot there.
Right, thank you.
Right over the bow. Okay, so moving on to the TV end of things. So we've gotten 4 full synopses for the 4-part crossover of the CW DC universe. This, of course, crossing over several episodes. It's going to start with Supergirl, then go over to Flash, then go over to Arrow, then go over to Legends of Tomorrow. Each episode individually all have the same name, though. They're going to be called Invasion, because they all have an exclamation mark
yeah.
at the end there. But it's weird. They're not labeling it Part 1, Part 2, because it's differing series, so it's...
Yeah, so it can't possibly be a Part 1 or Part 2, because if you go and you look up the episode synopses of a particular series later, and suddenly you've got Part 3, you wonder what happened to Part 1 and Part 2.
Well, see, that's going to be the problem for people catching up later on Netflix, is that you're going to have to already know, I have to watch The Flash before I watch the Legends of Tomorrow episode.
Yeah, but how is that any different from comics, though, when it's always been a thing where it's like, to get this backstory, go and read this other superhero issue, volume, blah, blah, blah.
And that's basically what they're doing here.
Yeah, they've always done that for decades.
So to go over that again, it should be in order of the night they air. So it's Supergirl, Flash, Arrow, Legends of Tomorrow. That should be fine. That should be easy enough to read. But that's going to be a little bit harder if you're watching later on down the road, say on Netflix. Just putting that out.
That makes sense.
Okay, so let's move on to some Marvel news over here. So it was an interesting thing that we learned in regard to movies that we already have coming out. Of course, we have Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 that we're all looking forward to coming out next year. The interesting thing that we learned is that there was a bit of a trade-off between Marvel and Fox in order to get things to happen the way they wanted to. It turns out, as we've already been told, Guardians of the Galaxy 2 gets to use the character Ego the Living Planet. And the reason they were able to use that character is because, last year we had, or really earlier this year, we had Deadpool, which featured Negasonic Teenage Warhead.
Yes.
Turns out she was the trade-off. Marvel let Fox use that character so they could get Ego the Living Planet because Fox had the rights to that. That was the trade. You guys get Negasonic Teenage Warhead, we get Ego the Living Planet. And they're like, okay.
It seems so mean.
It's very petty at this point. I just wish Marvel would kind of stop being so nice about it and just buy them out. Just buy the characters back whole.
You figure they could, yeah.
They could at this point
because they're owned by Disney.
And they've got giraffe money.
Yeah.
That's just the way that works. Okay, so moving on to over on the Netflix end of things, we've got more shots of the Defenders being filmed right now. We've got shots of Mike Coulter and Kristen Ritter on set, respectively as Luke Cage and Jessica Jones. We're still looking forward to seeing more revealed as they are filming. I figure they're still going to keep a tight lid on what Danny Rand's costume looks like, because we know he's going to get one. Everybody, the notable ones get one. At least we can see that Luke Cage is definitely wearing a yellow shirt underneath his hoodie, so it's like, alright, I see that. Nice nod. They're trying.
Yeah.
But still looking forward to more of that. Over on the Cloak and Dagger end of things, of course, we found that Cloak and Dagger was going to get its own series. That has been delayed.
Really?
Yes. No word on why that is exactly, just that we're going to have to wait a bit longer for it. Admittedly,
that sucks.
Admittedly, it's not a property that I'm very invested in, so I don't mind that much.
Well,
but
somebody is.
Somebody does, and, sorry for you who were really hoping for that to come out sooner than later. Okay, so moving on to some interesting news here. So, we talk about DC, and DC, of course, is partnered with Warner Brothers. Turns out earlier today we found out that Warner Brothers wholesale bought out Machinima.
That is insane to me.
Yeah, so Machinima is now officially a subsidiary of Warner Brothers
I just sit
for
back
digital content.
And I was just having this conversation with you a while back of, man, I remember the day when Machinima actually meant Machinima, where it meant that you're developing movies and shows based on how you manipulate in-game video game characters and stuff. Take Red vs. Blue, for example, was a very prime example of how Machinima used to work. You've got in-game models that you're just kind of manipulating how they move about, and then you're telling some completely different story with it. That's what the idea of what Machinima used to be, and now it's evolved into people are filming a lot of times video game related live action stuff.
Right, of course.
But now it's actually cinema, not machinima so much.
Right, because of course we got out of them Street Fighter Assassin's Fist, Mortal Kombat Legacy, and now they're looking forward to doing more things under the Warner Brothers umbrella. So it's going to be interesting to see where they go from here. So we've got that. Over on the Doctor Who end of things, they have confirmed that this year's Christmas episode will be a Fathom event done in theaters. So if you want to, go out on Christmas Day and go get your Doctor Who on there in the theater.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't get to last year, but then again, I was like, I don't know if I want to.
Not for me.
Some events around here can get a little scary. Some people are very adamant about the series. I'm adamant to a point.
I understand.
That's understandable. Okay, so let's move on to... Alright, so I'm gonna get angry. So we talked to you guys last week about the friggin' Megazord, what they're calling a Megazord, hashtag not my Megazord, in the Power Rangers reboot movie.
Right.
Now, up to this point, we had only seen photos of the T-Rex Zord on its own, and the whole Megazord, which we have now learned is very tall, about the size of my torso. Well, now we've gotten a full-on look at the other 4 Zords that make up the Megazord, and there's a few problems here. I don't know if you can blow that up to show everybody who hasn't seen this yet. The largest change, I don't know if you guys can see this above my head and above Kaylin's head, the Triceratops now has 6 legs, and the Mastodon now has 8 legs.
Like lean over to either... Yeah, there's the 6 legs, and there's... it's more like a beetle now?
Yeah, so,
What is this? And then the pterodactyl looks more like an X-Wing.
Yeah, and then the Sabretooth has a giant cannon on it now, because it totally needed that. Way to go, guys.
Oh, here we go.
So,
Count 0. Oh my god, no.
I want to keep singing, but we got to keep moving. So now we're trying to figure out what the hell are we doing with this. Oh, and actually right here beneath the pterodactyl, you can see what looks like a putty in the movie. They're going to potentially be...
Oh man, it looks like a friggin' golem. Now granted, I think they were called golems.
They were called golems in Zoo Ranger. So I'll accept, that is the one thing I will accept thus far.
It's at least recognizable.
That's at least recognizable, okay, that's a putty, fine. They showed some footage of the larger putties over here. But bottom line, now I'm trying to rationalize, where in the story are you going to tell me that Zordon didn't know? Because I guess one, Zordon was nearsighted, because he couldn't quite get a good look at what a dinosaur looked like, so he made the Ranger costumes only so vaguely look like what they're supposed to. And then on the other end of it, he was also drunk. He's nearsighted and drunk, and when he decided to create the Zords for the Power Rangers, he forgot how many legs they had.
He's not from Earth, Josh. He has no idea how many legs they're supposed to have. Is that going to be his explanation? That he's not He's ignorant?
Maybe.
His explanation is that he's
maybe he
ignorant.
just saw something that he thought was really cool and then tried to mimic it.
He's
Like
ignorant.
he's an earth weeb or something like that. And then the best explanation I've seen for it has been from our friend Chris over on Twitter. They will ask Zordon, "Hey Zordon, why does my Zord have extra legs than the thing it's based off?" "There's a very logical explanation for that, Rangers." "Oh no, a monster is attacking. No time now."
All right, we better be careful
Yeah.
about not turning this into a full story
Yeah,
when it's just a
let's
follow-up.
get past that.
Yeah.
So let's bring up another bit of slight anger that's kind of based in something. So we've been, of course, talking to you guys about Final Fantasy 15, which is coming out at the end of the month. Earlier this week, Conan O'Brien covered it with Elijah Wood on his Clueless Gamer segment, and normally I don't really... Like, it's funny, those segments, but this was the first time I actually, agreed with his criticism of the game.
Well, kinda, sorta. Here, I'll kind of explain, because that's Conan's shtick, is that he's not a gamer, he doesn't even like video games, and here he is, the complete wrong person to review video games, but he's gonna friggin' do it anyway.
Right.
So, Square Enix gave him a semi-functional copy of Final Fantasy 15.
A demo copy.
Yeah, a pre-play usually for journalism outlets.
Right.
Typically they would get these copies. Now this is the thing about Square Enix. They've been giving the game journalism outlets and even really us as players been giving us demos that don't have any story in it. And that includes straight up to this past week they released that Judgment Disc demo in Japan.
Right.
And some of you might have seen I played a large hunk of that Judgment Disc demo on a live stream a few days ago, and there's just little to no story included in it. So Conan's criticisms were, I have no idea what we're doing, I have no idea what we're supposed to be doing, I feel like I've accomplished nothing, and I get why he would feel that way, because they haven't given him anything to feel like he's accomplished anything.
Because the funny part about it is usually his complaints are very childish and arbitrary, but this is the first time it's like, no, that sounds like something somebody would eventually complain about when given this game based off what we've been shown so far.
Well, yeah, because it really feels like Square Enix is specifically trying to avoid giving away too many large hunks of spoilers out of the game, which I understand, but then there comes this irrational, or maybe it is rational because it's Square Enix, and why should I think that they're competent within the last 10 years? They've left out so much story that I worry that maybe there isn't story.
We'll have to find out at the end of the
We'll
month.
find
Let's
out at the
not
end of
make
the
this
month,
its
yeah.
own story either, because we can go on. We can absolutely go on.
That's mostly what I'm saying about it, though.
All right, so let's move on to some other some news that I'm very happy to report on. The anime Gundam Wing, of course, many years ago had the movie that was released over here called Gundam Wing Endless Waltz. Gundam Wing Endless Waltz is now legally streamable. If you go right now over to YouTube and go to the Gundam Info YouTube channel, it is the episodic version, not the movie version, so there's the break between it, 3-part episodes, but if you've been feeling a bit nostalgic, you can head over to YouTube right now and stream that, both the dub and the sub for free over there right now, and that just made me happy.
So how about Full Metal Alchemist?
So yeah, let's go ahead and bring that up. So we were hoping that we would talk to you guys this week about the first look that we would get at the Full Metal Alchemist live-action movie. And it turns out we got about 30 seconds of basically nothing.
Well, you see here in this tiny little picture, you've got Ed and Al. They exist.
They exist.
And there may be having to deal with the Chimera that's the one out of episode 1
maybe.
or 2 or something, maybe.
And the thing about it is, it's a couple of flashy shots, not much dialogue, hardly at all. This is the only shot you get of Alphonse, the whole trailer. From what we figured, he's full CG.
Yeah.
And
he looks like him in the chestular area.
That's his design. You guys didn't mess that up. They kind of left me wanting more, but not in a good way. That's it.
That's your well, it's a teaser, so.
And it is the epitome of. So good on you guys for teasing me.
Okay, cool.
Successfully?
So we've got at least one more.
And the last thing to bring up in relation to Kamen Rider Exade. Of course, we've been talking to you guys about the movie war that's coming up this December. Notably, last year with Kamen Rider Ghost, they had an opening theme, and then they had no insert themes, which is the first time that had happened in a while. So we can confirm that both for the movie War and for the series, there will be themes. They will be collaborations between the writer-supported bands Writer Chips and the all-female group of Kamen Rider Girls.
Still don't like Kamen Rider Girls.
I don't, but I'm hoping the Writer Chips...
But they're working together in tandem
on these two singles.
On two singles, okay.
So the single for the movie will be entitled Hikari, and for the show, the insert theme will be called Battle Game. So we have that to look forward to this December. Hopefully they are decent and sound more like Writer Chips than the girls.
Okay.
But yes, that's all our follow-ups. Let's get right into our first story with Kong Skull Island.
So yeah, the trailer is already playing for you right here. There's a shot of King Kong right there. And I don't know if they'll call him King Kong.
Well, they danced around
They
it
kind of
here.
were saying, oh, he's like the god or
he's
the
king
of
around here.
the island or whatever. So I suppose this is sitting in a universe in which the Western world still has not seen King Kong.
Right. From what I recall, this particular iteration of King Kong exists in the 70s. Now, admittedly, back in the 70s, we did have a remake of King Kong with Faye Dunaway and Jeff Bridges. That was interesting for the time. It was very much more focused on action and blood.
Yeah.
And some of the effects were good. He climbed the World Trade Center in that version.
Yes. Do you suppose that this is going to try and tie itself into the 70s remake?
I doubt it. It looks to be a replacement, if anything. So, we have the story here that a crew of people, including Samuel L. Jackson, Tom Hiddleston, Brie Larson, basically a lot of Marvel...
John Goodman.
With the exception of John Goodman, a bunch of Marvel characters, will be traveling to Skull Island to look for the mythic character of Kong, this giant ape creature that lords over the area.
But a whole bunch of people have been tricked into going there based on a different premise that, oh, we're going there to do some other... not research, but...
Well, essentially, a research project to discover what's there on the island. And as such,
but the truth is, they actually knew.
Yeah, they knew. They knew what was up.
And they started bombing the place. And now King Kong is angry, and it seems like there are other animals, very large monster-like things, on the island, and they are also angry.
Now, I see Black Jacket Blues you're bringing up. As long as Jack Black is far away, I think I'll be good. Now, admittedly, I actually really liked the Peter Jackson King Kong remake.
Oh, yeah?
For the atmosphere. And actually, I think Jack Black's performance there was kind of undersold. It was actually better than I thought it was because of how sleazy he came off.
Okay.
But the effects were decent enough. Admittedly, it's kind of hard to look at now because it's good, but it's only good for circa 2005.
Yeah, I understand.
So, I get it, and that was, that was the replacement for the original, taking place in like the 20s.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the replacement for what we're getting here in the 70s. So I imagine eventually somewhere down the road we're going to get a replacement for something current? Because we never had a modern day King Kong. I mean, it's modern for the time, I guess, in the 20s and the 70s, but then we remake the 20s and the 70s. So wait,
the 2005 one wasn't modern?
No, it took place in the 20s.
That's right.
So, the one there with Adrian Brody and... why can't I remember her name? Naomi Watts.
That's right. I was mistaking it for the 70s one. So I'm wondering about Skull Island because Skull Island's got a lot of monsters.
Yes.
And I'm thinking, how is this not Monster Island?
Right, because notably in the Godzilla universe, the larger Godzilla universe from many years, over the span of many movies, there's the island known as Monster Island, where a lot of different Godzilla, Kaiju, giant monsters, Anguirus, any number of other ones are there and battle out for dominance of the island, Godzilla included. And I'm wondering if that wouldn't just be easier, like you're saying, to combine Monster Island and Skull Island together, like, oh, it's just the same island.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting strong vibes that if we're eventually going to pit King Kong against Godzilla again in the near future, what better place to do that on than on Monster Island?
Right, so that would be the
like,
one...
both of them are clearly their own kind of king of the monsters.
Yes,
and so
absolutely.
if you want, like, the penultimate king of the monsters reigning over this island, let them fight.
Yes, because of course this is going to tie in eventually to the Legendary Pictures Godzilla movie set in that universe. So, really the way I'm seeing it here is more so than the other movies, referencing the Peter Jackson one again, they had other creatures on the island, but they were just kind of giant versions of things like giant slugs, giant spiders, T-Rexes for whatever reason. But those are things you kind of like, okay, that exists, and then we have a giant monkey. Whereas here, they're looked to be straight up kaiju on the island, which is a notable difference from any other iteration thus far.
I mean, we did see the giant water buffalo, but then there's also the giant, oh my god, I have no idea what that's supposed to be.
Like giant, weird alligator... Dino
thing.
Yeah, and the thing about it is, at this point, since this takes place in the past, maybe they know, maybe they don't know. You remember back in the Legendary Godzilla movie, they were referring to these creatures as mutos.
Yeah.
These different kind of
it was the specific breed, but they were still also calling them kaiju, interestingly enough.
Were they?
Yeah. Yeah. Or no, wait. I think I'm thinking of
Pacific
Rim calling them kaiju, but the muto is also a Japanese term, so...
Well, specifically for the context of the Legendary Pictures one, these are creatures that specifically feed off radioactivity.
Yes.
So if that's the case here, that there's some sort of molten radioactive core there under the island, which is the explanation for why these things are growing larger and larger than normal, that's also fine too. That's a tie back that makes sense. I don't have to think very hard about it. I can get past that and get straight to my monkey fights.
Monkey fights.
Well,
that's what's important to you, is the monkey fights.
Yeah, that's absolutely what's important to me. Because I want more giant monster action.
Right, of course.
Because after this, we're still waiting on Pacific Rim Maelstrom to come out. They've started filming. Thank you. And then after this, we'll have The Rock, Dwayne Johnson in the Rampage live-action adaptation. And we'll have to see how they do that one. They're apparently still doing prep work on that, and they haven't started filming just yet. Once he's done with press for Moana, and then a couple of other projects.
Now Moana's clearly the number one concern.
Right, but it's coming. Though.
Yes.
So and the thing about it is, I appreciate that now we're going to get to a point where we have so many different options to choose from when it comes to giant monster action, and really. The one thing I will talk about here, I didn't think, I wasn't expecting it to be as funny, this trailer, because once
there's some comedy in there, yeah, and I was like, I kind of leaned over to you and I was going, is this supposed to be funny?
Well, I didn't think
sure.
it was supposed to be funny, and then I forgot John C. Reilly's in this, and of course, granted, he's an amazing actor, but he's also incredibly gifted as a comedian.
So I'm trying to figure out whether there's this mood whiplash going on, or if there is if it's kind of this weird Jurassic World sort of, here's your comic relief from time to time, but it's not gonna break the whole thing.
Right, because it was holding its tone up to a certain point, and then right here, when John C. Reilly shows up, obviously some sort of survivor who's been living there on Skull Island, then yeah, there's the mood whiplash.
I don't know. I had mood whiplash the second they're helicoptering into the island, and they're like, is that a gorilla? And then they knock him out of the sky. I thought, maybe that was unintentional, but to me it was unintentionally hilarious.
Yeah, it's just the delivery of is that a gorilla? He didn't even have time to think about it. It's just immediate.
Yes, he got his answer.
And you were dead. Good job.
Good job.
So,
so when is this movie coming out again?
Next year.
Next year.
We'll have that to look forward to amongst all of the other dozens of movies we'll have to check out. We'll have to see if there's any Easter eggs specifically relating to Godzilla, as some people are talking about it here in the chat. I do believe some of them, but we'll talk more about that in the post-show.
Yes, by all means, ask us more questions about that a little later. Until then, we're going to go ahead and move on to our second story here. So you're looking at the box for the NES Classic Edition, and some are calling it the NES Mini, which... that I wish we had one in order to actually
right here in front of us, we have Kaylin's computer, and slightly to the side, we have the space where we would put our NES Classic, if we had one!
Yeah, thank you. But the truth is, we have an NES. I know you want a classic.
Yeah.
I know you want it, but here's the rub, alright?
Yeah.
This thing is really friggin' hard to find, and this is largely what we wanted to talk about, other than, really its whole launch, and it's making a lot of people happy. It really,
And it's making a lot of people mad.
And is making a lot of people mad. But the parts that make people happy about it, that then proceed to make people mad, are things like, of course, the 50 included games, which, when I was originally hearing about it, I was like, plug and play? Who cares about plug and play? Well,
The answer is a lot of people.
Apparently a lot of people, because all it took was making it look like an old NES, and for it to be an official product that is
of Nintendo.
So it's kinda sorta a Famiclone, but it's officially sanctioned, so it doesn't feel as dirty, and then you've got HDMI out, it's powered by micro USB, so even if you lose this micro USB cable, micro USB cables are plentiful, we use them to charge our cell phones.
You can get them at a gas station now.
Basically, yeah, anywhere you can possibly think of. The only thing people are complaining about is, yes, it doesn't look like there's going to be a means to get more games onto this console. There might be a way by plugging in the micro USB, maybe. You might be able to expand upon it, but the chances are looking pretty slim. That, and all the cables that come in this little box are all really short, and they might be doing that possibly to give you the sensation of sitting up and close to your TV.
That would be smart.
But there are also third-party people making wireless controllers specifically for the NES Classic Edition. Not to mention you can plug in old Wiimote controllers to this thing, so you can use your Wiimote
that brings up an
controller.
interesting thing that we were talking about, I think just last night, that people have gotten inside this thing and taken a look at it, and you were telling me that this thing, out of the box, is actually more powerful than the Wii was at launch.
Yes, it's more powerful than the original Wii's. People have already taken this thing apart, studied it. Yes, it is a strangely powerful little machine, and that's kind of sad to report on for the Wii, but yes, it's relatively powerful. You can use save states, because we live in an age where being Nintendo hard and having to beat an entire NES game in one singular sitting is not very realistic anymore, so thank God for save states.
Yes.
And I hate to think that makes old NES games easier. It makes it lose some of its charm, but you could always just not save, I guess. Just
if
don't
you want
save.
to do that. Now, I see some people bringing up here in the chat about, but that PS4 Pro, though. Now, admittedly, if you look at the numbers, because we got the NES Classic over here, over in Japan, they, at the same time, released their Famicom Mini, which is basically the same thing.
With some slightly different games packaged in, yeah.
Now, you look at the numbers in Japan. In Japan, in the first 4 days, the PS4 Pro sold 65,000 units thereabouts, which is a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But when it came to the Famicom Mini, they sold over 250,000, 262,000 plus.
Dang, yo.
In 4 days. So those numbers speak for themselves. People,
easily, yeah.
These consoles, these classic consoles, the Famicom over there in Japan, the NES Classic over here, they speak to somebody. They hit right on the nail on the head, like that perfect nostalgia of, hey, all those people that tell stories about what it was like for them to own an NES? You can have one too now. It's only the price of a new game. Go on, try and get it.
And you'll have 50 of them.
And you'll have 50 of them. It's like you only paid $1 each. And then that speaks, it got me. I want one.
Yeah.
I want one real bad. And the problem is right now.
$1 each. Yeah.
And the problem is right now I can't get one.
Yeah, which we could have gotten one had we decided, hey, we've got $60 to blow right this very minute, and we want to go stand in line at a GameStop or a Target or a Walmart or something, where there were big old lines of 50 plus people, and there were some locations that were saying, all right, guys, one per customer, whatever, but there were other locations that did not have that limitation, and there's people walking out the door with 4 or 5
or 6
NES Minis.
And you know what they're doing with them.
Yeah, you know exactly what they're going to do with it. They're going to turn it around and they're going to online scalp them. And that's exactly what's happening right now because people are douchebags. So I'm looking at eBay right this moment, okay? there's
Live.
yeah. There are people. I'm looking at 37 people who have bid on my very first best match. It's up to $182. I saw some. There's
$255.
$255. And you know what's really bizarre? I don't understand this, but if I choose to sort it by
Highest first.
shipping, price plus shipping, highest first. Maybe somebody can tell me if there's like some other purpose in making the bid this high, but the most expensive listing is $88,888.88.
Or best offer.
Or best offer, and 24 people are watching it. 24 people are watching it. I don't understand who is doing this and why. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Like, in my mind, the only people that could be... There's another one here for 24,000.
With 17 people watching
and I'm like, who's watching this? Oil tycoons? You know, rich people out in Saudi Arabia? Like,
because they don't know
I would get my
better?
son the NES.
Because
It's what happened.
Yeah, but they could buy it for not that much. They could buy it at the $200 mark.
They could buy it at the $200 mark, but still looking at it just for $200, what is that, over 200% markup?
There's 30 people watching this one for $12,000. I don't understand.
Maybe it's morbid curiosity. People are just watching these large bids just to see, hey, who's going to be the dumbass who buys it for this much? Go on, let me see it. I want to see who does it. And the thing about it is, yeah, that if I'm not mistaken, that's over 200% markup.
Oh, for the $200.
For at least the $200. Because...
Yeah, because this is going for $60 retail price, you know.
Right.
You may as well just wait for Nintendo to make more product and put it out on the shelf.
Which they
Wait
will.
a little
because
bit.
the thing about it is we got Black Friday coming up next week.
Right.
You want to make sure you can sell. We've got Christmas coming up after that. This is the quote-unquote Turbo Man of 2016, except
it's the Furby, it's the Tickle Me Elmo.
But the thing about it is when the Nintendo first came out, that's what it was.
Yeah,
it's
that's
already
true.
done this once, and it's doing it again, but in smaller form.
Mm-hmm.
So that just really speaks to the selling power of the original Nintendo, that people want it this bad.
Right.
That people are, asking for upwards of $200, and people are like, I'll pay it. Give me my Nintendo. I want it. And the thing about it is we live in an age where for less than that, you can still go to your local used video game store and get a Nintendo, get all those games, or at least a good chunk of them, for about that price, for $60. And you could have an original. You could get a Famiclone if you wanted, but no, they want this.
I never want to play on a Famiclone. But I might consider playing on an NES Classic Edition
because it's official.
Because it's officially sanctioned, and I trust it a little better. And from what I'm reading in some other places, apparently it has also left in some original game glitches and such. So, yay,
Well,
the original charm of flawed gaming. I suppose that's cool.
Well, yeah, it is cool because then you still have that authentic feeling of, I get to play this the way I remember it. For those of us who grew up with Nintendos, it's like, I remember using the glitch the first time I found it. I was like, whoa! And then it went over to my friends and I'm like, hey guys, check this out. And then I have to remember I didn't have friends in elementary school.
Oh, that took a really sad, sick turn.
I know, and the only way I can feel that hole in my heart is with an NES Classic.
Look, I'm gonna do what I can. All right, this is where we're at right now.
This is where we're at as a people.
Is that we are out of stock of NES Classics in major retail places, and I'm gonna try my best by Christmas. I can't make you any promises, but I'm gonna do my best. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, we're gonna do our best.
If you don't give me that, I want a bicycle.
A bicycle. A bicycle's gonna be more than the NES Classic unless I do the scalping.
But if you scalp, you can get like a bike and an NES Classic.
What? That doesn't even make any sense. What do you want me to scalp?
I don't know. I'm just saying stuff now.
You know what? I'm done with this.
Yeah, we're done here.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so with the remaining time that we have on the show, let's go ahead and talk about this very divisive topic of the first full trailer that we've gotten for DreamWorks' Ghost in the Shell live-action adaptation. Of course, here you can see footage there of Scarlett Johansson as the Major here in this upcoming live-action adaptation. And we had to, as soon as the trailer got dropped on Sunday, we had to take care of our usual work, and then we immediately rewatched the original movie.
Right.
The Mamoru Oshii.
1995, animated film.
And the comparisons, and of course, IGN's made their own comparison video between this and the original movie. Visually speaking, let's start there. Visually speaking,
aside from ethnicity,
which we'll save that for a bit.
yeah,
Visually speaking, this looks as faithful an adaptation as I could hope to expect from Hollywood at the current
this
date.
moment in time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like right there, she's wearing the coat she's wearing at the beginning of the movie. She's wearing
that headset.
The thermoptic camo. Some of these shots look taken straight from the anime. The shelling sequence, which of course was shown there at the event in Tokyo and has made its way online, is almost visual verbatim to what they show in the anime, in the original movie. At which point I'm like, and we've been saying this with a lot of our friends this week, realizing that we've come from, beneath the screen where you guys can see Dragon Ball Evolution to this. Even though it's not perfect by any means, we've still come a hell of a long way.
Yeah, that's the incredible part. And really, the Wachowskis, I thought back in the day, first we have to thank them for
basically
the
ripping
Matrix.
off some ideas.
Yeah, the Matrix, where they ripped off Ghost in the Shell.
And they admit to it.
Yeah, they absolutely admit to it, because back then, Ghost in the Shell just would never have been a thing here. It wouldn't have been at all. Then there comes Speed Racer, which is a very divisive movie. And again, we're talking, this is an anime adaptation, right?
Yes.
So, with Speed Racer, it got a lot of flack. And it's a lot of flack that I have to admit that I don't understand, because it made me wonder when the last time anybody who watched that movie watched Speed Racer, the animated series, because that Speed Racer film was a cartoon through and through. Absolutely.
It was faithful
and it
to
was,
the characters.
And it was relatively faithful, and it got the theme songs, and it was faithful to the story, but people didn't really like it. But this is like maybe just that much more, a step above, just by this much, as far as we can tell so far, in faithfulness.
Right.
As far as trying to pull visually from the film, from Standalone Complex,
yes,
from Arise.
Yes, because you see here in the trailer too, at a certain point, Scarlett Johansson as the Major is clearly wearing the red suit from the Arise version of Ghost in the Shell that's been very prevalent over the past year or two. So it does seem that they're pulling from those different aspects of it, which is more than I was giving them credit for when we first heard about this project. Like, I figured it was going to be something like, say, Aeon Flux, where I thought there were some overtones there, but at the same time, for what they did with it, it's like, well, they'll take what I remember watching as a kid, and then they'll turn it into its own thing, and it's going to be crap, and then it'll be, forgotten by time.
Oh, we were worried about it over the last, 7 years that they've had this license, That was always, I thought they were going to turn it into all CG, and they were going to give Bato a DreamWorks face. Like, I was so worried about...
But the thing about it is that there's the one scene in Standalone Complex where, he spooks the guy in at the urinal, like, hi.
Yeah.
That one of my favorite scenes there with Bato, and even for the complaints of Bato has normal eyes for a second, and then he has his anime eyes.
So are we going to see him go through the thing that forces him to get his cyberized eyes? Is that a thing that we're going to see?
And I might be okay with that.
Also, the question in this trailer is, the Major says that she doesn't necessarily remember who she is. That part is a little concerning to me. However, could that open a hole for them to say, oh, no, she originally was Mokoto Kusanagi, an actual Japanese person, which I know does not fix the Major's appearance being Scarlett Johansson. I get that. And I totally understand people's gripes with it. Although the original Japanese developers are like, I guess we didn't really expect them to be Japanese. I think we as a country that is looking for equality even in media are more expectant of that than the Japanese are, because they are a completely homogenous society.
Right.
So they just expect whoever to fill the role. They don't... I don't know if it's that they don't care, but they don't know to expect more or better You know,
Right.
it's just not a thing that's on their mind.
And the thing about it is, going back to the story here, we mentioned that they're probably blending a few elements here. The one concerning bit, as far as the story goes, is that they've told us before that they're going to be using that part of Standalone Complex where they're bringing in the Laughing Man. Of course, that being, this hacker there in the story of the TV series. But in the movie, there was the character known as the Puppet Master, where visually at the end of this trailer, that looks like who they're using.
Yeah.
And so my worry is that if you're going to have to blend all these different aspects together of Ghost in the Shell as a whole, the one thing I would not be appreciative of going into this is that if you have the character of the Puppet Master, but you're calling him the Laughing Man, and that would ruin room to actually tell the Laughing Man's story later on down the road should this succeed.
Or are they two completely different things and the trailer hasn't shown them very well?
Maybe. Because they haven't said that they're using the Puppet Master. They've specifically said Laughing Man. And so that I'm a little concerned about that as far as that goes. And then, there's this little bit here with Aramaki shooting somebody. We'd seen the footage of that before, and that, of course, being Beat Takeshi there as Aramaki.
As in the same guy who's... name some things he's been in.
Takeshi's Castle.
Takeshi's Castle, which came over here as Most Extreme Elimination, and so he was one of the two dubbed over really bad announcers in Most Extreme Elimination Challenge. That aired on Spike TV for many years. Also in what's its Explodey Collar movie?
Battle Royale.
Battle Royale. So he's the teacher or principal or whoever who's organizing the event on the island and sending the students out with the Explodey Collars. So you guys probably recognize him from other stuff. But this character is not one that I remember being especially active in a militant role within Section 9.
Well, no, because Aramaki is always the administrator of Section 9. He's the person telling them, here, go do the thing. This is the mission. Go handle it. I don't know that Aramaki ever, quote-unquote, gets his hands dirty, goes out in the field. He's usually the one at the meeting. He's usually the one on the comms, like, Major, did you hear that? And then, everybody else takes care of it.
Is there any source material that talks about what he did before he did that?
Somewhat that's covered in Arise. Admittedly, we haven't gotten around to seeing Arise. We will try to remedy that before the movie comes out. Now, all things considered, coming at this from a movie standpoint, I think a lot of people who weren't aware of what Ghost in the Shell is are going to be very intrigued by this and are going to want to watch simply because of what they're being shown, not knowing anything about it. I think really the problem a lot of people are having is that they know something about it, and then when they realize what it's coming from and what it was in different forms, that's when they get a little bit more upset about it.
Well, we had this discussion with some friends last night, some friends who maybe are a little more attached to Ghost in the Shell than we are. Granted, we like it very much, but this is somebody who's just way above and beyond, can't stop singing praises of Motoko. Motoko. I keep switching Motoko for Makoto.
No.
Motoko. He sings high praises of the character across the entire franchise.
Well,
and he's so terrified that this movie is going to ruin her, but he's like, it looks so good in some ways because I see them borrowing from all these different things that are so accurate, but are they borrowing from too many different things at the same time, and is it going to get messy?
That is a concern. Because you want to be able to tell a coherent story, and the thing about it is, with the Major here, they have not officially let her say that her name is Makoto Kusanagi.
Motoko.
That's what I said.
No, you said Makoto. See, this is
now you got me. I know how to say it. Now you got me saying it.
Motoko. Yeah.
If they have her questioning her identity, that does get covered in the first movie. Her questioning her identity and where she came from a bit.
Well, it's also her questioning what does it mean to have a soul or a ghost,
Right.
Which is the entire concept of the idea that came before the manga or the anime ever came around. The ghost in the machine. That's a concept that has already existed. What does it mean to actually be a human? And if you start transferring your brain and your memories into like a computer or a robot,
into a case,
are you still a human being with a soul? So then that is what... If this movie does not cover that concept, then it's not Ghost in the Shell.
I will agree to that. Because very much... and it's covered sometimes more than it should be than other things. But if there's one thing that's at the core of most Ghost in the Shell stories that are told, it's the philosophy of what does it mean to be a human? What is the human experience? What does it mean to have a ghost, their version of what they call a soul? That's covered in the first movie by Motoko questioning it. In the series...
Motoko.
That's what I said. In the series, that's actually covered by the Tachikomas and their development of what could be considered ghosts there in the series, and then Motoko having to decide, well...
Motoko.
That's what I said. Having to decide, well, what do we do with them? Are they still machines, or do they actually have free will and license to exist? If they cover that, that will show me that you guys remembered what the message of the series was, of the property. And if they keep to that, that seems good. I am officially hopeful for this. This actually took away a lot of concerns I had. That's not to say they took away all my concerns. Admittedly, I still have a few, but I'm gonna be there. I'm absolutely gonna watch
for sure.
This.
I don't know how high to set my expectations, but they're definitely set at higher than I expected them to be, because we're coming off of other game and anime adaptations that have been so bad. So bad in our history, and we've been waiting for the anime Hollywood adaptation to really break that barrier and finally do it right. We've been waiting so long. Could this be the one that actually does it? Maybe. We're still sitting on a maybe, but it's making us feel pretty good. That and the fact that they trusted the Japanese to have that event first, and then play the original music from the original film on top of the casing.
Played live by original composer Kenji Kawai. Played there at the event during the shelling sequence, just like in the anime movie. It's there. They're showing... The company, DreamWorks, is showing everybody, look, we know what we're doing.
We're paying attention.
We're paying attention as much as reasonably possible. Please watch this.
Except also not casting Asian actors. But...
Admittedly.
But aside from that, they're hitting a lot of the correct notes.
Yes. Progress is what I'm saying.
Yeah, absolutely. Progress. So
not perfect, but there's progress.
Yeah, and that is something I am happy is occurring.
Yes.
So I guess this is where we're going to wrap it up for now?
Yeah, I would say don't throw the major out with the bathwater or whatever.
Stop using that terminology. You're starting to use it a little too constantly to refer to everything.
Okay, fine.
Okay, I'm turning this off now. So that having been said, we've gone through all of our major news stories for the evening, and I hope that some of you will stick around for some post-show so that we can continue this discussion and do Q&A with everybody, and I think that will be a lot of fun. If you're not here with us live right now, I would sure like it if you could get down to us live. Typically, it would be on Thursday nights at 9 p.m. Central. Next week, because it's Thanksgiving, it will not be on Thursday. More than likely, we're doing a Wednesday show, but again, it will be at 9 p.m. Central Time, so adjust your time clocks accordingly.
Yes, we'll go ahead and tweet about that. And then, of course, we'll also have that streaming event next weekend. We'll be announcing more about that over on Twitter.
Yes, so past that, social media, yes?
Yes, you can always follow us on Twitter to find out more about that. I'm at Josh Knight First.
And I'm at Mars Girl.
So that having been said, that's been tonight's episode of Beyond the Black Rims. We will see you guys again next week.
Thank you, everybody. Take a look at this advertisement now. Please, thank you. Not that one. Not that one either.
Oh god, where is it?
It's here.
Danny is a young sci-fi writer living in the UK. Everything was going great until one day he was captured by a beautiful woman, terrifyingly hot. Her name is Morphine. And she'll make you